Okay, so here we are back in module view. I'm going to click on the grade and project breakdown tab in the module view for this week. So I've included a link to open the grade and project breakdown in Google Docs, but all of that information is the same here. However, I'm going to open it in Google Docs. I already have the tab open. That's not it. Here it is. Okay, grade and project breakdown. So let me read through some of this and I will explain as I go through. To shift the attention away from grades or points, the result, and onto learning and becoming better writers and students, the process, we will not use a traditional grading system in our course. Instead of receiving points or letter grades on projects, students will receive a note of exceptional, ready, or revise, not ready yet. In all cases, except for major essay project number 3, students can revise completed projects if they wish to improve their quality or effectiveness. However, if a student receives a note of revise, they must revise using their own discretion as a writer, my feedback, and/or feedback provided by tutors or other readers to make these revisions. While we will not be using a traditional grading system or points, you should be able to keep track of your progress through the semester by using this document. Okay, so even though we won't be tallying points, you won't be able to say like, oh, I earned 86 out of 100 on that, or keep track of points in that regard, you still will be able to keep track of your progress in the course by using this document. So what I've done, I've broken down all of the projects that we'll be doing in the semester. Okay, so we have 3 major essay projects. So we have major essay project 1, and then we have 3 drafts that we'll be doing for that. So I broke it down in bullet points. So draft 1, draft 2, and the polished draft. So those 3 things make up this major essay project. Same thing for major essay project 2. We'll have 3 drafts total for that. So those make up this project. And then major essay project 3, because it is a little bit more of an involved project, it's a research essay, it's going to take us a little bit more time. We have some added components, in this case, the annotated bibliography installment. So annotated bibliography 1 and bib number 2, but then we have draft 1, draft 2, and polished draft. So those 5 components make up major essay project 3. So in order for any of these 3 major essay projects to be considered complete, students need to submit all of the components. So in order for major essay project 1 to be considered complete, a student would need to submit draft 1, draft 2, and the polished draft. You can't skip draft 2 and move right to the polished draft, or not submit a first draft, or whatever the case is. All 3 of those need to be submitted, just as for the major essay project 3, all 5 of these components need to be submitted. Okay, so that's important. In order for a project to be considered complete, everything needs to be completed. Makes sense, right? Okay, moving on. Minor projects. So minor projects are something, I mean, they're minor, but they're still important. They're just smaller, right? And they're a little bit more frequent. So minor projects include the reading response questions. So for most of the readings that we do from Habits of the Creative Mind, you will complete a set of reading response questions. Minor projects also include the discussion posts and the practice sessions. So when we submit a practice session, you're actually going to submit it as a discussion post, so they're kind of the same thing in many senses, but those constitute minor projects because they're shorter, more frequent, ongoing throughout the semester. Now let me read this little descriptor here. Reading response questions and discussion posts practice sessions are ongoing throughout the semester. In order for these 2 ongoing minor projects to be considered complete, a student may only miss 1 set of the total number of sets of reading response questions and/or discussion posts or practice sessions submitted throughout the semester. More than 1 unsubmitted set of reading response questions or 1 unsubmitted discussion post or practice session will render either of these 2 minor projects incomplete. Okay, so it's important that you are on top of these. They're, like I said, they're ongoing and more frequent. each student is able to miss one set of reading response questions, meaning you fail to submit that or don't submit one set of reading response questions. But if you do that more than once, then the minor project is considered incomplete. Okay, so that's why it's really important that you're staying on top of these. You're not treating them as just useless homework, because it's not. Everything that I've designed is definitely serves an important purpose, but these are more ongoing. I expect there'll be a little bit of complication and confusion as we get underway, but once we do get on our feet, so to speak, this should make a lot more sense. Final grade breakdown. Okay, so because the college requires that I enter final grades at the end of the semester, the effectiveness of a student's work throughout the semester will translate into final letter grades at the end of the semester based on this criteria. So what this means, I understand that we're not using points or traditional grades in the class, but yes, the college does need me to submit final grades at the end of the semester, but it's my way of kind of de-emphasizing that grade and shifting the focus onto the work itself. But if you're aiming to earn an A in the course, which I hope everyone is, all major essay projects need to be completed, and a note of exceptional on at least 2 major essay projects, no unsubmitted revisions. Okay, so at least 2 of the major essay projects, a student needs to earn a note of exceptional. Okay. All minor projects need to be completed, and there needs to be active participation throughout the semester. And I have a little explanation of what that means. I talked a little bit about this in the syllabus. To earn a B, all major essay projects need to be completed, no unsubmitted revisions, but they don't necessarily need to earn a note of exceptional, but they do need to be completed, so that means no unsubmitted revisions. No more than 1 unsubmitted or incomplete minor project, and we still have active participation throughout the semester. To earn a C, all major essay projects submitted, no more than 1 unsubmitted revision, no more than 2 unsubmitted or incomplete minor projects, and maybe there's little participation throughout the semester, so maybe the participation wasn't as adequate as it should have been. To earn a D or an F, I'm not even going to talk about that. Why is anybody aiming at that? So active participation means that the student regularly and thoroughly completes weekly activities, readings, and projects by expected deadlines. They log into Canvas on a regular and frequent basis, and they participate in the discussion boards by adhering to the guidelines in the discussion board rubric. So this is stuff that I talked about when I was going through the syllabus itself, talking about participation. So active participation means that a student is actively engaged in the course. They log into Canvas on a frequent basis. They submit the activities and the reading, they complete the readings and the projects by expected deadlines, and they do so thoroughly. Okay, they're not just submitting kind of lackluster work or work they didn't really spend all that much time on. But also the student is very participatory in the discussion boards. Okay. Feedback notes breakdown. For each of the major essay projects, rather than points or grades, students will receive one of these 3 notes. Okay, so you might receive a note of exceptional, you might receive a note of ready, or you might receive a note of revised, not ready yet. So a note of exceptional, what this means is the student has surpassed the expectations of the project. Great care has been taken by the student to ensure the piece of writing is exceptional. In terms of quality, the piece of writing stands out from the rest. Now, if you're wondering what this means, I understand that it can be a little bit vague. Don't worry, the different rubrics should offer more clarity, and I organized the rubrics according to exceptional, ready, and revised, not ready yet. So you should see if you're aiming to get your project, aiming to make it an exceptional piece of writing, you can see what that means, just as you can see what a ready project would be, or if something needs to be revised. So ready, if a piece of writing is ready, the student has met the expectations of the project. There are some concerns that could be addressed in a revision, but overall the piece of writing is effectively composed, and in this case a revision is optional. So if a student has submitted an essay and upon assessment they see that it's ready, but they would like to turn it into an exceptional piece of writing, they have the option of revising that project to try to make it an exceptional piece of writing. Okay, so everybody has that ability, that opportunity. Revise, not ready yet. This one, it's important to understand. What this means is that there's something within the project that needs more attention. It doesn't mean that it's a bad piece of writing or that the student didn't try hard or isn't, whatever the case is. It doesn't translate to any kind of grade or value judgment. It just means that there's something in that project or maybe a couple of things in that project that the student needs to address in a revision. And in that case, a revision is mandatory. It's not optional. So if a student earns a note of revise, not ready yet, it really just means it's not ready yet, and I would like that student to take another pass at that project. And of course, I will provide feedback. I will offer, you'll have the rubric to provide some guidance, and of course we can talk about these things, whether through Zoom or messaging. But what all of this means is I'm trying to shift the focus away from points, as I mentioned up here, and onto the process of becoming better writers. It's important that we learn from our mistakes, and it's important that we take risks, and it's important that we are provided the kind of space to play around with things, to make mistakes and try to learn from those mistakes. But if we're so fixated on the grade, most of the time we're not really learning. It's not a very meaningful activity because we're just trying to get an A or just trying to pass, right? We're not actually actively trying to be better writers. And that's my hope, at least. I've been doing this for several semesters, and students tend to enjoy this once they get the hang of it. I do understand that it will be a little confusing at first, but as you all know, one of the things that I stress, it's important to embrace confusion. So sit tight. Don't worry if you're a little confused at this point. Hopefully things will make a little bit more sense as we get underway. All right, y'all. Well, if you have any questions, you can message me on Canvas or send me an email at my Cerritos College email account. I'll be happy to respond. In the meantime, carry on.